So, good evening everyone. We greet you at the educational program of the Animation Festival Linoleum. So just now we will be finally speaking about such an important issue for today, which is the modern animation and modern education in the animation sphere, and not only in animation, but also the specialties which are connected with that. Those are visual effects and game design in Ukraine. So we will be speaking exceptionally about the Ukrainian reality. So today we've gathered the representatives of the 5 main schools of those directions. I'd like to introduce you them. Those are Mikita Kravtsov, the founder of the School of Poster-Play, the Katerina Honchar, the curator of TFX Workshop School, that is Boris Bughrov, lead account and the manager of ArtCraft, Alexander Hrutsky, who is the co-founder of Games Academy and the founder of Games Gathering, and also Oleg Malamush, who is the curator of the courses of storyboarding and 2D animation in the School of Projector. So, I do thank you for that you came here, and I ask each of you to introduce your schools one by one and the courses which you present today which are relevant to your school today. So let's begin with you, Mikita. Would you please tell what Poster-Play is doing and which courses you have for today? Yes, thank you. Our school has the name of the Animation School Poster-Play, so we're dealing with animation only, and we try to achieve all of the animation aspects. First of all, this is 2D and 3D animation and other courses like stop-motion animation and also frame by frame and all like that. As we are the School of Animation, we deal with that only. That is, you can study the animation in the evening, during the evening courses, and in the morning, and individual lessons, and like that. Thank you, Katerina. Thank you. Our School of VFX Workshop is 5 years. We have been always created for the cinema, the special effects in the cinema, the animation in the cinema, and now we have a unique course which can't be found anywhere, Houdini and Houdini in game dev, and also we have 2D and 3D animation, and also the After Effects. And later we'll be also founding more and more courses, and I will tell about them later. Boris? Thank you that you invited me. I'm the representative of ArtCraft School. We used to be and are game dev focused school, so we are preparing the specialists for this branch. Well, of course, gradually we got the courses on 2D and 3D animation inspired, and also we are preparing several new ones. But first of all, for game dev, those are drawings, painting, 2D and 3D including, and from time to time we do look at the preparation of the 2D characters for 2D animation. Alexander? Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm the representative of Games Academy, so our school is oriented for the preparation of the specialists for the game industry, for game dev, so we're a bit out of your line because we don't have only R2 and animation, but we have the huge number of specialized courses like game design, game testing, the schools of the game engines and Unity and Unreal, the producing of the projects and so on. Oleg? Hello everyone, I'm the representative of Projector School, and several years ago the school was specializing on the design and programming, now it's coding, and now we have the marketing direction developed, and during next years we are developing the animation direction. There are courses on motion design, which are the start ones. All of the courses are done online. There is the course on 3D animation, the start one, and the deeper one, that is the body mechanics, and also I'm conducting the courses on 2D animation, storyboarding and creating of animatics for the animation, the classical and 3D ones both, and also we'll have the animation directing, which is a bit longer with our participants. Thank you. I've got a question like this. Since 2017, we began touring through Ukraine and created certain screenings of animation, both foreign and Ukrainian. So very often we had the questions from the people coming and who are really interested in the profession and this sphere, where we can study, in fact. So They either haven't ever heard about that or they just don't know what's the situation in Ukraine. So for today, in your schools, what are the new opportunities for the students and how do you choose them? How do you select them? How do they get to know that they can enter your schools? Or you have certain online or offline activities because all of you are in Kiev. You're located in Kiev besides Projector who has the affiliate in some other cities, but still they're not connected and they don't teach animation as far as I know. So I'm interested, what about the modern current situation as for now? What is ongoing with the selection of the students and what do they get during the tuition process? Let us begin with Alexander. Okay, sure. So, by the way, besides Kiev, we also have the affiliate in Dnipro, but we don't teach game design there. But we are going to have the Unreal Engine course in Kiev. Yes, we have live courses in Kiev, but also we've got online courses. And again, as for the selection, everyone is selected through online, through Facebook and Instagram, and so on. This is when the advertisement is working, and what is good and right, in the majority of our courses, we've got certain deals with the employers who are interested in the experts who have graduated after those courses. So as for the QR, the Kiev office of Ubisoft is hiring testers, so out of each course, several people are hired by Ubisoft. And now we are opening the new course on Unreal Engine in Kiev, and our teacher is from Wargaming, and he also needs several people in his team. He needs young and talented experts, and of course, the best students after the course will be hired, of course. I think those are just wonderful perspectives. Catherine, which opportunities do you offer? I think that all of the schools try to make deals with the employers for the students to be hired later. We also conduct offline presentations of the courses, where we have the teacher coming, he's telling about the course, and whoever is interested, they ask questions. So rather often, everybody who has come to the offline presentation, then they later are joining the course. Then also we have certain situations when the people are hired after us, and then they're coming to us for the studies. 4 years ago, Dmitro Baidachny has graduated the Houdini course, and also he used to be a very talented student, so he was hired by Ubisoft. Now he's a senior artist there, and he's creating the next game, and now he's the teacher at our school of Houdini at Game Dev. Boris? Well, as for how we attract, how we are found, when in fact, yes, we are located in Kiev, and for a long time we had only offline courses, but as soon as we were ready, we created our own educational platform to conduct online courses, and gradually we brought all the courses online. Because of the spring circumstances, we have everything online now, but I think that our colleagues, all of them, have found themselves in such situation. So how do people get to know about this? Some open events, streams, both at our YouTube channel and with the channels of our partners. So I think that in the comments we will be told where we have been found. But as for the CG speaks and fishes, well, people are interested to go to the teachers. They know, well, at least approximately what they need, so we try to conduct certain streams at those platforms for the people to understand whether those teachers suit them. If I want to study something, I need a person who will teach me, so this is how we attract people. As for the opportunities, we are also focused upon the person who needs to touch and to understand what he or she needs. So we also invite to the basic courses, which don't take much time, but still they give you an opportunity to touch different realities. Whatever I want to do, interior design, or maybe just beautiful renders, or maybe I need to create certain games, or just drawings for the websites or illustrations, or maybe it is game dev, and then we help the people to define themselves. We have the certain courses, and then we conduct the studies. Mikita? Yes, as well as they do, we also hire through different online platforms. We select the students, but also we spend lots of times for different offline events. Those are various exhibitions, some events where we also take part and tell about animation. We try to show that this is an opportunity to do something with your own hands. Lots of people who just want to do animation, they don't believe that it can work. So as soon as you conduct a first simple lesson, they can see that they can move those pictures moving, they can do them, make them moving, it motivates them, and they begin studying. So half of them is just the marketing which is done from mouth to ear, and also we have some of the side projects. For instance, we published the book History of Animation. When the person has read the book, he was interested or she was interested, then was inspired, searched for the courses and found us. This is how we are working, Oleg. Well, in fact, I think as all of the schools we are using the main tools of advertisement, that is Facebook, Instagram, and this is the certain standard. From our side, when I began my courses, I understood that I needed artists who know how to draw. So I used all of the possible Facebook acquaintances, all of my friends, whoever could do anything to expand their level, because I didn't have only to find the course. I wanted to find the people with whom I would achieve the next level. If I didn't find the course of storyboard, I would have to draw the animation movie of Roxolana on my own, because the studio has begun its work. It went to work on a different animation movie, Mavka, but I had to begin the next movie. The animation courses were not over, but they already were hired. They didn't even have the thesis, but still they already had to work, because we are growing quicker than I have enough time to teach. And in fact, the same happens with the 3D courses. All of the people who are graduating by Oksana Domina, they are having internship at Karandash Studio, and they know how to study the easy TV shows out of the interns to become juniors. And the same happens with the design. As soon as we have a big TV series or TV project, all of those students are needed like air to breathe. This is a nice phrase about the practice. Do your educational institutions have production companies, as well as it's done here by Animagrad project that you're working together, right? What's about your case? Do you have the same practice for the students, or maybe they need to join their own production? Because I'm sure that you are dealing not only with the organization of the studies, right? Whoever is ready to answer. I can begin. Well, our animation school used to be as a certain separate project, the studio of animation, just play. But before it emerged, we taught and created the specialists on our own. The market of animation specialists used to be rather empty then, so we came to the conclusion that it's easier to teach the person and to give him or her a certain set of skills and knowledge on his own than just to wait while they know how to be taught or while the proper experts emerge. So we taught the people ourselves. Then we had the special program that we went into the fields. We have the studio which is working on the explanation videos for the scientists and innovators. 90% of our audience are the Americans, Europeans and Australians. So our pupils have conducted the international projects together. The program was working. So, basing upon this, we have opened the school. And now, when we have it already for several years, the graduates are coming to our projects, most to play, and of course, as everybody, we have some deals with other TV studios and TV channels where they can be hired as well. Maybe someone of you have similar experience? No, it's only a dream of ours. We have the conference, we have the academy, so we are just thinking, and we do understand that we should do something like that, but we need a production as the third part, which is the final link for all of that. But on the other hand, as for the hiring of students, all of our teachers totally, well, maybe except me, are practitioners, experts of the high level from nice teams from Wargaming, from Ubisoft and others. So rather often the teachers and the students from the courses, they take the best students from the courses and they take them as juniors to the company. Because when you read for 12 to 24 lectures, it's still much more efficient than you just have an interview for half an hour or an hour. You can instantly see who is talented and who wants to work. It's interesting that those are totally different features for you. Talented and wants to work. Well, I would like a talented... Well, I am talented, but I don't want to work, honestly speaking. Well, at least not always. By the way, if you've got questions for each other, you can pose them as well. It would be even more interesting. Catherine, maybe? Yes, sure. Well, in fact, our school has been created before as a studio, as the workshop for ours, for Terminal UFix. And of course, the composers came to the terminal, they are working, and some of them are supervisors already. And also, we again have the word of mouth that after some course, if you are from us, we can take you. The same happens at Postmodern, the supervisors who came from us, and the same happens with the composers mostly. Yes, well, in fact, our school also began on the thought that our school has been founded by two perfect people. One of them is who is an art director. The second used to be a creative director, and they saw that when you hire new people, you waste lots of time of yours or of Leeds to train this person. So we decided to create the courses. We will hire, we'll train for that, and this is how it was born. But we don't have our own production, we just have lots of acquaintances, and very often we are used by the companies whom we know, or just lots of indie studios are just writing, would you please advise, we need a 2D expert, who is the drawer, or for instance a 3D for this and that. The same happened with Dmitro Belinsky from Karandash Studio. Well, maybe I shouldn't mention about that. Oleg has mentioned that our market is growing rather rapidly, and we also always need the specialists and experts. The same happened with the Karandash Studio. The graduates of the first course and the next group from the third block, which is coming closer to body mechanics topic, they also communicate with Karandash Studio. The same happens with the 2D animators, which also is a positive tendency. The market is very expanding, and it's rather interesting. Our students also had the course of 2D animation. We selected the first year for the adolescents, for young experts, and they also came to Mr. Belinsky and they trained how to draw different projects. We're also working with Karandash Studio, so hello to Dmitro. And as for the market, which is growing, how is it growing? Because in fact, the animation for the growing and the volumes of animation are not that growing in Ukraine. I cannot say that during the recent years there were certain new steps done. In fact, the number of not only full-length films, but even short films is not changing that much. So what do you think? Is it growing because we are beginning to work for the foreign projects, or for the games in game dev, or for the visual effects again, VFX, both for the foreign markets more than for the Ukrainian ones, because the Ukrainian markets don't have that many movies created with super cool VFX. What is going on at the animation market now? From my side, I would say that it's more of the students which are taken by the animation market, because when we created Ruslan, the animation movie, lots of experts went to game dev after that, because they were growing, they have higher rates, and they are rebought, because the customer is outsourced, the Americans mostly, so they have bigger payment capabilities, and ours are the investment projects. The free places, the vacancies, are filled by the mid-lows or students, so this process is speeding up lately. If the cinematography has been struck by COVID, the animation did not feel that at all. I would say vice versa, it even grew in the volumes, in the requests. This summer, I'm just tired to communicate what can be done in animation more, because I do understand that cinematography and production still see the situation what should be done, and they can instantly see that there is the huge animation market which they never even looked at. So the interest is very high, it's just rated. So when we analyze it, because the Animation Association is being just shaped closer and closer, we are following finally our growth. So it seems to me that at the game conference, when I've been there, they have already the understanding how many experts they have, what are the salaries, a very nice analysis of their market, and we are lacking it. We just don't notice how quickly we are growing. There are certain studios about which I know only through my acquaintances, but they have 50 people there and do something for YouTube, and not that many people know about them. And then they just emerge. We exist. So this is a very low rate of animation, or maybe a medium one and lower, and everybody who can do that, they are taken there, the artists. To my surprise, it seems even that this profession is a very specific, like character and background artists, but as soon as there are certain experts who can do that with high quality, they are totally dissolved in the studios. They are taken the same by the game devs, they are taken by everyone. So the market, well, as I feel, we are growing for about 20% a year without even noticing this growth. That it's not followed by us. Because when 2 years ago I used to know about the animation market for about 80%, I knew almost everyone personally, now I think that's only about 50% with whom I'm in touch. With lots of them, I never saw them before. I saw them only for the first time at some events. We need to understand that the animation market is not only the full-length or short films, it's what's done for game devs and for advertisement and others. The same as in Ukraine and abroad, there are studios which are creating cinematics for the outsource for different companies. You cannot do that in the engine, but you need to do that manually, so there is always requests for the hands, I would say. This is the tendency for the collaborations of not that many people. There are 5 people sitting and doing some outsource for Russia or for anybody else, so there are 5 of them and they never felt any lockdown. But as for 2D animation, Netflix has created a certain push with Klaus movie, and again 2D animation is gradually coming back, but unfortunately, as far as I know, in Ukraine it's not that nice with 2D, both about production and the studies, the courses and training. There are not that many places where you can be trained to the animation live. So do you plan any courses like that? Or maybe you have selected your own direction of movement and you're not planning to open any additional courses, not only for visual effects, VFX, or game dev only. We have the courses of 2D animation, we had the first flow for the young adults, and now we create the big course for 2D animation, where there will be the part of storyboard as well. Olga Maksuk is a wonderful animator who has 20 years of experience, and she says that before that 3D was just fashionable. 3D experts were interested in that, and 2D was a bit obsolete, but now it's again has become more popular. So we have the selection on the 29th of September. Please come, we'll have the new courses on 2D animation. I think it will be developing, and the people will understand that it is it. We need to work with it. Mikita, because I know that you have 2D animation as well. Yes, it is important to understand that there is the 2D animation, how it is taught in After Effects, or maybe you need frame by frame. Well, but we have offline, but there is the third difference, the skeleton one, like Dragon Balls and Spine. Let us not forget about them. Of course, we can use Blender as well. Oh, that's about apps. So 2D animation combines lots of aspects, and we began the first course of 2D animation. Now it's the most popular. In September, we are having simultaneously 3 groups working together. So we are planning to expand and to pay more time to some aspects of frame by frame and time lapse and animation and the character animation to have narrower experts. And now it's just an overall course for about everything at all. And what about the request and demand? What about the online and offline in your schools? In the majority, you're doing online now, only partially. Yes, we came back to live studies since September. Not all of the courses, but still some of them. Have you ever had this experience of online courses, and do you feel the difference in the quality of studies between online and offline? Has this online impact the quality of some graduation works or thesis, or maybe just the work of the students? It did not impact within the groups and the flows which were taken for the online, but out of what we have felt when in March we had to get to online only, we had the flows of students who began the studies offline. And people are rather conscious about that, and I'm very happy about that. People understand what's the best way to be studied, so they select consciously what they need, online or offline. People had to come from offline to online, and lots of them said that it liked it more because it gives whatever we say, that it takes your time for traffic, but still you could stay in your offices for longer times, you go on and you saved your time, and considering that they could rewind back and without leaving, some of the groups even showed higher results if they had to leave offline and to begin to do online only. It's not only subjective, but what I liked most of all. The students also said, cool, I liked it so much. COVID helped us. Well, from my side, I may say that I instantly planned when we got acquainted with Projector, I said that it should be online only, because I've got my main job as well. So it gave an opportunity to work on 2D animation. I've got the students from Chile, from Germany, from the Netherlands, so those are very talented girls working wonderfully, and they will have wonderful theses. They will be graduating soon, and the quality. Well, what does online give us? On Saturday, if we have the webinar, it can last for 8 hours. Someone is tired, going away, having a lunch and coming back. Sometimes my throat is aching after 8 hours of conversations, but still it allows us to work as long as we need with each student. So the quality turns out to be higher, as the majority, more than half of the course, are already the working hours, and they can come into production, which brings to higher results. But if we are restricted with half an hour lecture, this is the end of an hour and a half or 2 hours, and this is the end of the lesson itself. Then this is self-tuition then. But when you work with each of them, it turns out that the experience can help you when you observe how you develop the different work, some other work. The animator who is the person who has to have certain failures and mistakes or hours of animation to become a professional. So he can observe someone's mistakes or his own mistakes and can get certain experience how he shouldn't do. So we can take regions even and involve them, because the artists in Kiev are expendables as well. You know, we met with the Academy of Arts and we said that we need them, because there are not that many people who can draw with their own hands. I mean, lots of them work with Photoshop, but they don't know how to draw, because the animator, well, nice drawings, handmade drawings make you a nice animator. So my dream is to create Klaus movie in Ukraine. But the issue is that if I train for 5 years, there will be the whole crew of full-length movie in 5 years, not before. I can double it up, and still I need to issue the simultaneous parallel 2 courses. I need 150 people, and the certain students will leave, they will understand it's not their piece of work, they want to change the direction, and then maybe we need some room, we have some place and some people to train to find at least several full-length movies.
I think that altogether we're gonna cope with that in another 18 months or so. And what is the situation in game dev? I believe that it is much better. You don't need 150 people to graduate in 5 years' time. Judging by the analytics that Oleg mentioned, we also see that game industry in Ukraine is growing 20% annually, probably even more. Everybody needs professionals And of course, the students and the graduates always face problems when they don't have experience, because everybody wants to hire an experienced person. But when you do not have experience, it is hard for you to get a job where you need to have an experience. But still, everybody is juniors, testers, artists, and those people who know how to work with game engines. Well, those programmers, normally we get them as graduates from universities, but still there is an issue with different professionals because coronavirus had a very negative impact on many things. But in game dev, because of coronavirus, everybody now stays at home, plays more games, and especially slots are getting so much money now. So much more money now, and everything is also really good for other game companies. Everybody is now growing bigger, everybody needs more professionals, more contents, and now we see much higher demand for professionals. So our market keeps expanding as of now, and we have to say thank you to coronavirus for that as well, partially. Well, that would be too much. Well, it kept growing even without coronavirus, so it would have been better if it stayed as it used to be. And now going back to offline events, in any case, I want to spend more time offline, going to conferences, markets, meeting people, because meeting people in person gives you more opportunities. It is much better to do things when you're meeting with person physically rather than when you meet online on Facebook. Clearly. So my next question is what is happening offline, because I'm pretty sure that each of the schools does much more rather than simply training people, and is training to expand your opportunities. So, Sasha, let's start with you. Games Gathering appeared earlier than Games Academy. Well, pretty much at the same point in time, in 2015, we started organizing conference and the school. And what became the driving force? Because 2015 was not a long time ago. Well, maybe 5 years in game dev is a huge technological leap. Well, talking about conference, I can say that this was coincidence. I had worked as a game designer for 14 years, and I was fatigued slightly, maybe not even slightly. And due to the events that took place in 2013 and 2014, except for drop in economy, all of the game conferences such as Casual Connect and Game Dev, all of them stopped coming to Ukraine, and they have lots of friends in industry. I could see that there is a clear request for conferences in Game Dev. People want to meet, people want to talk and communicate. So I thought that I should organize a Game Dev conference, and I did it. And one more question from the viewers that is related to the topic that we previously discussed. In past quarantine times, will you still have as much of online training, or are you going to mainly do with offline? Of course, we're going to stick to online mainly, but I believe that us and the colleagues will also do a lot of offline. But at the current time, the lockdown, well, probably this is not a suitable word to say that we're experimenting, but we tried different methodologies online, and of course the lockdown helped us to further develop it. We had to look for some good solutions. We had to somehow complement the lack of the personal contact with the trainer, and we had to focus on it more so that online was as good as offline. So let us do our best so that online education is as good, so that we can compete with GNOME and other schools. I think that these are the target that we should strive for. So I believe that there will be some offline groups, but we're not going to refuse online. Well, of course, if it's going to be a tough lockdown, we're going to completely switch online. But there is Compositing Houdini. There is a course that lasts 6 months. It's better for people, and they can come, touch things, So we were thinking, what do we do with this kind of course? So we tried switching them online. So far, everything is well. We have just limited number of students. There are 7 of them, and each of them has the time when they can personally talk with their trainer in Zoom, and they're also doing practical work. So we are trying to bring the offline format to online and make it as useful as it used to be. So let's go back to all of the offline events. So in the future, so if it already had an impact on training, will these offline conferences that we are organizing or festivals bring together as many people as they did before? Because I'm confident from the festival viewpoint that this is more of an offline format rather than online format. It is very difficult for me to stay here in the studio without seeing people, without communicating with somebody. Sometimes people do come, but the majority of speakers connect with us in Zoom. What's going to happen with markets? Global markets, with conferences, including your conferences that you are organizing. Please allow me to answer as conference organizer. Well, my 5-year experience shows that it is important to talk in person during conferences. This is why people go to conferences. Of course, lectures and good speakers are important, but you can find lectures online and watch them on YouTube. But personal communication, asking questions, standing and chatting with one of the speakers after their lectures. For example, Jamabayev, when he comes, everybody keeps torturing him with questions for 1.5 hours after he's done with his presentation. The same is done with having negotiations in Zoom and having physical negotiations. This is a different level of confidence and trust, learning about person, or seeing your old colleagues whom you have been working in the industry for a while. Same has to do with talking with recruiting staff, those who want to get job, those who apply for job. Of course, it is more efficient to talk in person, and it leads to a completely different level of trust. I'm not even mentioning parties. Well, yeah, this is the saddest part of online. I believe that next year, when finally this is over, well, probably not completely, but more or less it's gonna go back to the way it used to be. This year we're gonna have the hybrid format conference, and all of the lectures, except for the live event, everything's gonna be online. It is probable that when the situation changes for better, it will be the standard that will be sticking to. If the conference wants to have a good ranking, it will have to have a real physical event with some live broadcasting of what is happening there. Well, these are my observations, judging by our visitors, colleagues, and partners. 90% are suffering because of all these limitations and restrictions, because you cannot personally participate in an event. Many companies have policies saying that they will not physically participate in events till beginning or end of winter. And they say that this is the company's policy, but we miss meeting so much. I hope that this pandemic is over as much as possible so that we can meet in person again. You're saying that everything is going to go back to the way it used to be before. I'm not now speaking from the viewpoint of conference organizer, but even talking about musical events, now there are more people who are interested, even among my students. They all the time are saying, oh my God, how is that possible? There was no DevGam, Games Gathering will be a hybrid event. There was Games Gathering in Odessa, but when again are you gonna do something new? And I think that the first conferences that will be happening after conference will gather lots of people, and the majority of stuff will be happening informally, like, oh, this person is going to the lecture by a guy whom I really like. I gotta talk to that person, we might have something in common. Yes. Well, we already can say that judging by the figures, the situation has not yet changed for better, but now everybody is much calmer in terms of the attitude, maybe sometimes way too calm, but very many people are looking forward when we can go back to physical communication and physical meetings. And talking about animation industry, we liked that some of the things are now available thanks to online to all of the animators rather than a smaller group that had to go and online. If all Ukrainian animators go to some conferences, you will have to also rent some of the buildings and apartments in adjacent towns. And if we're talking about animation, it feels okay locally, but there is also a lot of outsource. And in animation, we still are developing an international format. This is not only exclusively Ukrainian thing. It should be something international. It should be co-production, outsourced, and I hope that it's going to further develop much faster. And these online conferences gave an opportunity to hear lots of different speakers whom you could not see in person, but now you can look at them. You can understand their way of thinking. You understand what is important for them, what are the current trends and tendencies, especially something that have to do with pitching, because all of the animation needs to be promoted to Europe and it needs to develop. And well, yes, offline is an opportunity to not sit in front of your computer 24/7, but an opportunity to talk to a person physically and talk about something that you're interested in, not only with your family members. It allows you to see how many creative people are surrounding you, that this is a huge community. But coronavirus forced us to do that online. It led us to understand that you can see things globally in the context of a certain topic, and it can be a very good thing that will allow the animation to develop, especially for smaller countries, because large countries are well aware of one another. United States, France, but Ukraine, Thailand, some small European countries. For them, this online communication, I believe, gave a very good push to develop, and they became much closer. And COVID also helped Ukrainians. They now are not bringing people there, but they are working with people remotely. So for our students, this is a great opportunity to work remotely with the United States, with Canada, with France, get experience, so that experience is being brought to Ukraine, the pipeline production process, and this is a huge advantage for us. I would not agree that COVID again helped us. Till the end of this discussion, I will be mentioning that, but COVID really gave an opportunity. Aside from now having an opportunity looking at these videos being recorded, at large conferences, very often you would meet representatives from the same companies. But now that everybody is home, we should understand that it's not only us stuck at home. Everybody in every country, all professionals and experts are now working from home. And there are lots of great experts who could share experience, but due to their workload and trips, they could not go to some CDC and other conferences. Now they can do that from home and they can share their experience. So COVID created opportunities for a larger audience to join this and for a larger amount of experts to also join that. I would like to also add, from the viewpoint of game and industry, maybe in animation conferences it was different, but for us, for a number of years, I believe that in 2015 we didn't do that, but starting in 2016, all of the lectures at the conferences were recorded, and it is clear that not right away you have to process it, but a couple of weeks or a month later, we were putting it on our YouTube channel free of charge. Of course, there are some expensive conferences where they ask you to pay a fee to access video recordings. But still, even though those were physical conferences, those who could not come there had access to lectures even before pandemics. Now it probably will become a must-have when everybody wants to do live broadcasting so that you can watch it in real time with those people who are physically present. Well, this was not a breakthrough. We had those videos even before. I was just talking about animation. One more question that I would like to ask. But one of our viewers also asked it. Do the companies plan to engage experts from Europe and create educational and job opportunities abroad? In my opinion, foreigners are very important for training and education in our case as well. Of course, we're not a school as a festival, but sometimes we're trying to bring some really cool speakers who can not simply speak, but also organize some kind of workshop. In your case, do you also engage international trainers in terms of internships? I'm not sure if you're ready to do that because you already are a school, but do you cooperate with other schools? Because I know that Projector, together with Goblin, they were working together and brought one of the animators to Ukraine. May I go first? Last year, a supervisor from Los Angeles, Jeff Levitt, came to us and he was helping to teach compose. He was as a supervisor at a course and we did a really cool thing. Together with the guy, we were filming at the green background and we were trying to paste ourselves into the Avengers film. We were working with Lite. He also organized webinars for those who wanted to change day and night. Also, we did it with Jean-Paul Cornet. This is Avatar and Lord of the Rings supervisor. We also organized a lecture together with him for our school. He shared his experience. That is why, yes, we have this experience of cooperating with them. And given COVID is going to become more and more popular because now they are more available. Maybe somebody else would like to say something. Go ahead. With ArtCraft, we often invite, well, not exactly foreigners, but people from CIS who are working in this domain. We're doing that in the CG session format with Andrei Rabovichev, Nikolai Razumiev, and many people from CIS working in other markets. But now we are also preparing the new large project. I cannot tell much about it, but people say that by mid-September you will find out everything about it. What did I comment on what Alex said, that now more speakers are available. It is true that many experts are now more open to cooperation. And talking about educational programs such as a course that lasts for 8 weeks, this is not the format that foreigners are used to. For them, 12 videos, each of them 20 minutes long, is popular, and the course is ready. Say, I have forgotten the name, on Coursera or edX, you can look at how art courses look, and they are much shorter. So the educational format, the typical one, well, not in our case, but lots of useful things that will be soon ready. Yes, I do agree that foreigners see it as a shorter format, so bringing a person here to train somebody for 8 weeks is pretty much impossible. And again, talking about people from CIS region, that is true, because it is much easier for them to work with people who have similar mindset. We brought Jamal Jorbayev and Timur Musayev. They are all great guys, and Timur actually had worked in Kiev for some time. And bringing a lecturer to the conference, well, yes, bring them for one lecture is much easier. Everything depends on their free time, because there are some professionals who have their schedule packed for 18 months ahead. That is why for them, finding 4 days to come to Kiev, give a lecture, can be quite complicated. And of course, there is also financial aspect to that. Well, but for conference, this is still not as bad as 6 weeks of the course. From my viewpoint, prior to COVID, I'm quite an online professional. And there are some things that I can do for somebody for 5 years. A person lives, say, in Kiev, but I haven't seen them even once in those 5 years. Why? Because this saves you a lot of time. If there are lots of different tasks, it saves your time. And in terms of education, we have to get experience from our foreign peers. If we're not used to somebody standing next to you and saying whether it is good or bad, but rather sitting in Zoom and commenting upon it the same, and still it is the screen, the same thing that I do online, there is no much difference. We can be with them 3 hours a week, but they will be able to share lots of experience and do that for a lengthy period of time, and it gives you the opportunity to participate in some workshops or lengthy courses with foreigners. It allows us to stick to pipeline, because as the person who is producing something, I'm thinking about what can I teach the students so that it is easy for them to work here, or then in France, or then in Canada, or then in United States. This is how they do that. How do they work with corrections? Because very often locals who go there, they simply do not understand what's going on in the studio, because before that they worked in a completely different studio. Now they need time to adapt to that, and for some it can be quite stressful. And this allows us to train them here, then send them abroad to get certain experience, because a student who trained here and left there, sometime later you can suggest them to also organize some short-term course so that they can share the experience which they gained in a different country. In this case, any country that comes to us understand that our production process is the same, because we're giving job to our students, and we want our market, our animation market, to develop and grow. And I believe that in the coming 5 years, this opportunity of remote work will allow us to expand larger, because our opportunities in terms of growth are pretty much unlimited in this case. I wanted to add a couple of words about the work, because our studio is aimed at working with foreigners. An animator is a very international profession. If you know how to animate, your job can be assessed can be given a high mark in Europe, in Australia, anywhere, well, probably except for Antarctica. And many of our graduates worked with innovators, scientists, and researchers from America, Europe, and Australia. And this is our main task, to show that if you possess this skill, you will be able to thrive in any situation. American animator does a good job, but it's very expensive. Indian animator is cheap and does very poor job. And we are in between. Yeah. Good offer. Oh, I started laughing not because we disagree, but this is our competitive advantage. This is something that allows our market to expand and grow. Because recently I was talking to Australian colleagues, and they work only for Hollywood, and their salaries are so large that they cannot produce for themselves. There is a very small market. That is why they have a vicious circle. They cannot expand in this situation, but in our case, we're in between. All markets are available. There are Koreans, Chinese who come to Media Week, so we are also studying those markets, and American market is not that far as well, and this is a huge advantage. There was one article about Ireland. A year their animation budget is $400 million. This is a joint budget of animation and TV production. This is a small country with a population as large as in Kiev. It seems that everybody does animation there. Even the kid, when it is born, it's gonna be baptized as an animator from start. And this is an island country. They do not have access. They have commercial possibilities, but they are quite remote for everybody. That is when Ukraine will have great growth opportunities. This needs to be emphasized to further develop. Next question from the audience. can game dev also become something that will be taught in Ukraine? Are we going to have something like that at the public level? We're going to talk about our state separately, but here's the question. Well, Projector had a very clear direction, and prior to COVID, we wanted to become a university. Currently, the legislation in the state became more complicated, the tasks are more complicated, the areas that a building requires to become a university became larger, and given COVID, we decided to go online educational project. And in this situation, more opportunities raise because universities gradually are going online. There are different educational programs for serious international projects that pretty much issue a degree. They give you a diploma. So educational system is transforming globally. So we have to track it and understand how we can change and how can online also allow us to give a good diploma that will be accepted in the market. For artists and animators, it's just easier. Your practical skill matters rather than diploma. This is a question. Do you need to have a diploma in animation? So in Ukraine, 90% of people learned on their own, who raised themselves in this profession, who were practically trying to do that. Well, probably not 90, that is over-exaggeration, about 50, but yes, definitely have, probably even more. But it is true that in our areas, probably people will look at your practical skill first, and then we'll find out that, oh, you also have a diploma, and this is great, because you know methodology. It is not just something that you came up with, and it will allow you to get better status within your team, because people are gonna come to ask you for some advice. Because nobody really looks at your diplomas. Starting in 2015, there were lots of students coming and saying, oh, I wanted to go to such and such university to study design. I wanted to go to an academy, but I listened to stories about old teachers, about outdated training, and keeping all that in mind, I don't think that we will be unified with university education. I think that we're going to get accredited as Projector was planning, as we planned in winter, but all of the plans got messed up. I also tried to study it, but I realized that it is so complicated and there is so much red tape on this path and so many hindrances that I decided to refuse from it. And also, given that you're judged by your practical skill, you don't really need it that much. If something changes in future, if there is a need, I think that we can overcome all of the red tape hindrances. For animators and artists, this is a perfect thing because you can come with your portfolio, demonstrate it, and you can see everything. This pretty much is your diploma. My daughter is graduating. She's graduating Kyiv Polytechnic University. She's doing art, and she went there to simply get a diploma because all of the knowledge that I had already given her are more than what she's being taught in the university, and I can hire her because I am well aware of her skill. But sometimes still people in the family want their child to have degree. Yeah, I know about that. You have this diploma so that you have certain experience, and if you could do that according to the speed up present procedure, that would be better. And it all changes in movie production. I talked to Academy of Arts. They also are ready to reform everything and change so that students can get practical skills that will be helpful in work, so that they do not simply draw and paint to become an artist. So that their heart is in Goblin starting year 2, so that they're being recruited before they have graduated. They've been recruited by the studios worldwide because they have school #1 worldwide. This is the system that we're striving for. It is great when a student at the age of 23 is getting a good comprehensive education in 4 years so that they can be both the head of the studio. For example, when I graduated in polygraphy, I could do two things at the same time. This education allowed me to cover for these two things. So higher education allows you to manage and understand comprehensively the whole process. That's why American and French studios very often are ahead of us in terms of animation. When there is an animation with high education, they can also serve as a director because as their degree skill is lower and they have a comprehensive approach rather than simply focus on a technical part. They understand everything. That's why they have this higher degree. That is why it gives you a much higher level of projects.
So you can cooperate with the state. For instance, when the students of the university named after Karpenko-Kari have their own script, they need animatics, so need a storyboard, they can come to our school and then they can cooperate with our students. For our students, it's a kind of a workshop. They are training and practicing, but for those students, it's the help for their thesis. So I think from this perspective, yes, you can cooperate with the universities, definitely, when the state is not a partner, but more of the one who makes an order, an acquirer. Well, in fact, it also should be one of my questions, whether you have collaborated with the state. If yes, then at which projects and what was the result? As for today, when we're speaking about the public education, it does not exist in animation almost at all. And in gaming, I'm not even sure that there are certain professional public schools who would teach you VFX, for instance. Well, there are certain fine arts universities, some similar institutions, but definitely they are not created technically to get you an education as an animation expert, because in animation we have the same number of professions and specialties as it is in the cinema industry. So have you ever had such an experience? Would you share? Maybe you came to the state, formally speaking, and suggested certain expansion or extension of the education to impact, to help to develop something. Yes, we had some practice. A student of the journalism university, she was creating her thesis, and our students of 2D animation helped her, as I mentioned before. We tested this way of cooperation with our school, and it turned out to be a nice animation movie, and our students took it as a practice for themselves, and the journalism institute student tried it as well. Yes, we are cooperating with the foundations and funds and public enterprises, but in which way? For our students, we are constantly trying to show how multifaceted animation is, that it's not only in cinema or games, it can be also shown in other ways. AR, VR just emerged recently. When you put on the headset, you can see the world which was drawn by the animator, and every year we have new directions emerging. We try to stimulate them. For instance, animation in the art. It would be nice, the static pictures to be moving. As an example of the project, we took the sketches of Leonardo da Vinci. Those are social projects which we're doing with the students who graduated or in the process of tuition, for them to show their own animation skills and to be in the animation world, to announce about themselves. Just I will tell you as an example, one of our successful projects which we have done are the sketches of Leonardo da Vinci. We took his sketches and drawings of different flying devices or underwater costumes, which would never be invented even 500 years ago, but he dreamt about that. But when you're looking at those sketches, you don't understand what that is. So we have created 3D models with our students. We created the animation and a kind of exhibition. When you drive the cell phone onto that picture, you can see the animated 3D model. So this exhibition was well done. It used to be at the Art Factory factory platform. And then as for the public enterprises, it was shown in the Art Arsenal at the exhibition hall Parkovy. So before the coronavirus, it visited 10 cities of Ukraine. It was the free social project, and it was a success, which gave an opportunity for the animators to see a different use of their skills, to think to do something new, something unusual. So those subjects can show something which never exists in the world now, the 3D models of the objects which you can't see even in the museums anywhere, just on the printed books and papers. But when this is the 3D experience, it's a different experience. People are smiling, studying, they're taking photos with those models. This is what we motivate our students to do. Okay, thank you. Maybe anybody else wants to share something interesting? Well, from our perspective, in fact, it is totally possible to create a huge project of international cooperation on the education with the Fine Arts Academy. They've got the cultural sharing with a program with China and so on. So it will be, we hope, an international collaboration. But as for well, at my 2D course, it turns out that I've got a teacher who is teaching in the college as well. And he lacked this direction, practical one. So the student really showed herself nicely at the course, and the knowledge she gained there, she can give to her students in the college. So it's an opportunity to reach them, because from my side, I can see an issue. Not enough voices are telling that animation can be a very powerful international production in Ukraine, and the market itself, which can bring the same what IT does, or the same level how the gaming industry has developed too. So if we say about the overall development, there is the lack of voices who would mention that out of 3,000 experts, which approximately exist in Ukraine, we can expand ourselves to 30,000, and it's a totally natural process. We just need to deal with that. We need to speak about that and to strive for that. But we shouldn't be afraid of that it's possible, because there will be colleges who will study and teach. There will be institutes which will gradually implement those programs, the online education and the foreign education, and there will be definitely a co-production. Well, in fact, we have already the Polish people who are searching for artists here, who are drawing with their hands manually, not in the digital sphere on the canvases. It turns out that they are needed because those are the payback projects, business projects. That's nice. Could I add a bit as a skeptical view? Because from the side of our industry, in the gaming industry, there are lots of companies who don't want to cooperate with the state, because we do remember multiple cases when we have the raiding into the offices coming, not only to the gaming but to the IT, when they just take all of the computers and some court trials begin and the proceedings. So, of course, we would like the state to help to develop our gaming industry and IT altogether, but still, knowing huge number of colleagues, any conversations about the cooperation with the state are facing skepticism and the position that, would you please not interfere? We will do ourselves okay. Yes, we do have this kind. Well, we don't have that much of cooperation with the state. We had some experience of communication with Kyiv Polytechnic Institute at the departments on the applied math, with calculation and information techniques. So we have conducted certain events because it could be interesting for them, because lots of people are going there to become coders or programmers to create certain games, but they don't take into consideration that you don't need to create the code only, you need an artist. But some people didn't think about that and went there. What was in the end of the day? Even communicating with the representative of the state at the level of the department or the board, you're still facing this wall. What is that? But when I was studying, we never had it. They don't need it. So we had to solve everything through the bottom-to-top initiatives. All the skepticism is totally true, but there is the hope and expectations that our generation is the people of our peers, the people of the same age category. They are changing the system from inside. Yes, it is rather skeptical, but still, I have this ray of hope. Yeah, our colleagues from the UB Games company have organized the association, and they try to reach the state with all of the experts about taxation and all the rest, because everybody understands perfectly that we can you can take pressure onto the gaming industry, but it will finally make all the experts leave to the Cyprus, and it won't help you with the taxation system. So we would like to believe into the better and for the advising voices to be heard by the state, but it doesn't happen all the times, in all the cases. But didn't you think to unite all of your efforts, though you're working in more or less the same sphere, you're still representing the different directions. So maybe if you united into something as a whole and came with certain recommendations, maybe it could work. Because when I thought on the state support, the first thing I was thinking about that all of your courses are paid, so not every student can afford him or herself that, but the state could pay for some talented students for the tuition in one of your schools. If there is no public school like that, but there is a private school only, or maybe vice versa, you need certain donations from the state for the development of the new courses or to bring some cool foreign speakers. We still have some grant support, which allows to create certain similar events. Unfortunately, it doesn't always finance foreign speakers, but still, for certain organizational needs, you can get certain sums of money. Have you ever thought about that? For the state to pay, yes, it exists. I don't know whether it's working at our colleagues globally, but there are certain funds which pay the certain courses of the students. Those are International Migration Service, which is MOM in Ukraine, the support fund of the anti-terroristic operations soldiers, which help with resocialization. We used to have a rather regular flow of people who were sent by those organizations, but to have mass signed contracts, to have the place in the flow for a certain person, we never had it, because this need is not a constant. But from this perspective, the state is already doing something. But as for the grants, for the state to support them, once I was interested in that, but I delved into those bureaucratic piles and decided not to do that anymore. The same situation. I tried to study this question, how to get the grant from the state, but not for the academy, for the conference only, because we had the biggest game devs conference in the Eastern Europe, and the huge sums of money are coming to Ukraine, the contracts are signed, the people are getting the jobs. I decided to study this issue to get certain grants, but the same impression was there. There was the high probability that to fill up all the documents and all the rest, I will waste huge amounts of time, and the result will be totally unpredictable whether it works or not, so I decided not to do that. Sometimes such talented students are trying to search for grants themselves, but as we don't have that in Ukraine, we don't provide them with that. They can go to Poland, or they already win in the competition, so they are leaving us. Could I end? Oh, it's a painful topic. Well, first of all, thank you so much to you, because in fact, you created it from the school. This is the first event when you collected all the schools here, and we are discussing the topics which we see from our own perspectives. We can see our own parts and facets of animation, because in fact, if we want to develop it quickly and rapidly, all of us have to conduct and to increase our capacities and capabilities, because even considering the available courses, taking into account some of the students who are not staying in the industry and they just leave and they decide to develop it in a different way. For instance, they tried it for 3 months and they changed it. Still, from our side, what I can see, we are bringing up not that enough of stuff to provide the industry at all. Because we definitely know it, that at the level of the Ministry of Culture and at the pitching level, there is the question, who will do that? Who will implement that in the animation? This is the question for about 2 or 3 years. And the situation is solved gradually. It is becoming calmer. There is certain resource available, but it is constantly allocated and taken. Not even the most successful and talented students, according to my experience and the courses I'm conducted, everybody is hired, everybody is finding jobs. Those are the people who I'd like to hire, but they are working already. They had some additional skill, they got certain skills for the studio, and they are already using it. So in fact, it's totally available. Maybe your experience is working with the bigger grants, it will help. So maybe it will be a kind of a union which will unite us and give us a certain push. For this sandbox to become a big sandy beach, it can be a very nice collaboration and the opportunity to develop the whole market. Because we have the huge ocean in front of us, the animation ocean, where we can swim and we will never reach the edge. Could I add a bit? Our school has the budget places, which is done with the state budget. We organize it with different funds. For the September selection with UWCF fund for the children from the 9th to 11th grades, they have one budget place for each course. So it was done for the people who cannot afford it themselves, but they want to study. We created certain competitions and contests. We created the animation tasks, and we selected the best. The ones who are most interested in that. They are studying for free in our school. This is a kind of our initiative. It is not reimbursed by the state, but they help us disseminating the idea with these funds. So if you're still at school and you have some wish to deal with animation, this is also a free opportunity. One more moment about the projector. Just recently, they created the supernova direction. This is 11 to 17 years old, and in October, experimentally, we are launching 2D animation for them. Because we've got certain workshops, and there are certain adolescents, teens, who know how to draw, so you can teach 2D animation for them. This is the same, because we can do that even earlier and before. Why is online that nice and smaller formats? Because you need to enter the university for that. And my daughter and anybody else can be taught for the period up to 17 years old for them to go and work and to get certain skills. When the art director is 23 years old, it's totally possible. The person can become the supervisor if he or she gains all the skills. The only thing is whether he or she is ready to have this social role. And it speeds up and expands our horizons. Considering our experience 2D animation among the youth, when they are only 13 or 14 years old, after half a year they are working, they have the commissioned work, they have freelance, it's totally real and they are movable. You can train them and you can take them as a studio and create the nice stuff because they will never leave you. What an awful world of capitalism. 17 years old and you're already working. Maybe you don't need a diploma, but don't take those childhood years. I'm just listening to Oleg's story. I know that, and I had the diploma. Yes, I know Oleg, and he's a valuable employee. Yes, they want to work themselves, and the children themselves. We had even children's courses before the coronavirus. Some of the children showed nice results. And we also organized the budget places at the adults courses, grown-up courses, and they even showed better results than the average in the group. So the children, if they believe in that, if they do animation because they hear this call of the heart, there will be nice results. You can begin any moment. I need to stop you a bit, because we will be talking for 2 hours more. I do understand you, it's rather interesting, but we have some questions from the viewers, because we have only 10 minutes left. What about the comfy animation ad and the advertisement of Foxtrot with the mascot? What do you tell about the advertisement animation and its peculiarities? Well, I know this market rather well. Well, it depends on the technology. If there is an infographics, which is a huge market, and it covers the opportunity that if you can't shoot it, you can draw it in the animation. There is the 2D animation, which is not that a lot because it's rather experienced, and only Denon and other bigger brands like bigger slots can afford themselves to draw such advertisement. There is 3D animation, which is constantly done both with the VFX and cinemas. This is a very expanded market because when you have the bigger cinema, you have the ad videos. So this is a kind of a production which is done in Ukraine and cooperating with post companies, the terminal and others, when the ad video is not the main business, but still it brings certain results. So as for advertisement market of animation, it's not that big. This is the situation that the launch of one TV show can attract 150 experts for 5 years. This is when we speak about the growth. But as for the one full-length movie, this is about 300 people for 4 years. From my behalf, I tried to invent how can I give the opportunities for the studios to have the experts and the projects. Because it's not the issue how to produce, but to have the proper level, international level of the projects, for them to be acquired before we end the production. So this is the question of the high education, not only to create the process, but for this project to be of high level all over the process, and for it to be perfect everywhere. So these questions can be developed, but still the advertisement is still feeding us. In case if everything vanishes, advertisement is still there. 5 years ago, there was not enough of animation, and the advertisement business fed all of us, for all of the people not to leave Ukraine. But now there is no sense to leave because the growth is substantial. And when I used to come to Portugal, they don't have such a rapid growth. In this situation, we have a unique history. Well, in Portugal, we have a similar situation with Ukraine, because I communicated with certain productions, and the level used to be similar with us. Yes, we're really similar as for the issues. We are hardly competing with the French, but as for the other countries, we have 5 full-length movies in the production without such a level of higher educational institutions, and approximately 10 TV shows, and this is only the beginning. We are all growing and growing with our wishes and potential. So coming back to the advertisement, Oleg said that this is a small niche, but now it is covered by bigger studios we're having in Ukraine, the same Banda, Mad Cats, Lemon Group. I forgot some other names in cooperative. So to this or that extent, if I understand properly which projects were asked about, this is not the animations we used to talk about. This is not the level of training which is needed from the animator for the short movie or full-length movie. There is a bit of generative design, the work with the material, and you need the picture with clicks. If I'm wrong, could you show the links for the certain video reels, and we will discuss that. It is covered by a very small circle of people, and there is not much demand of that, because the studios are taking dozens of the works, and they're totally happy with that. This is the nice direction which is represented in Linoleum program. Musical videos, when the huge musical band cannot afford themselves to have a big budget for the studio, they find an expert who deals with animation, and they create the experimental animation video clips of a nice level. And it comes to the festival and for the promotion. So this is one of the works which can totally be corresponded to all of the advertisement requirements, because the format is very short, it is produced during the short period of time, and it has more creative part than in the advertisement videos. Okay, then the last question. How many years should I spend to become the professional out of the newcomer? I'm giving each of you 5 points, so please invent 5 points to become a professional from the newcomer. And how much time? Well, it depends on the professional. 2D, 3D, what do you ask about? Well, maybe we can clarify it. Dear spectator, what do you mean? You have 2 minutes left. What exactly are you interested? Well, let us mention the point. You should just begin. This is the simplest. There won't be the checklist you will once see and everything will work. Just to begin, you need to sit down and to do, and to do. And then just the questions. Yes, the education can help you, but you just please try, even without any courses, to try to work on something from scratch at home, and when you understand whether it's working or not, maybe it's not yours, maybe you don't like it, but during this search you will try to find something similar which you like much more, and when you can see something working finally, you will begin something on your own and you will like it, then maybe you should come to us, and we can help you. Oh, you can instantly come to us, or to us, oh, to us. Well, I mean to all of us. Whether you want or not, when you go to the course and during the 3 lessons you understand that it's not working, you can join a different course. So all of our schools have lots of educational content free, accessible. If you don't know what you like, you can open any of us. You can look at the previews, what that is. If it clicks, you can try and do it. And then you will understand what you should do. Yes, it depends on what's your aim, If you want to be an animator at the level of Pixar, those are years and years of work. If you want to begin something new, for instance, there are certain experts who create animation for the ads in Facebook, you cannot allocate huge budgets to create such content, and the requirements for such works are not that high. To create such quick animations, the 1 month of tuition is more than enough. It's very simple. So he wants everything, both 2D and 3D. We have 3 months for the course. To become a nice sketcher, you need 17 hours of sketching, 1 minute each. That is 1,000 of drawings. In 1,000 of drawings, you will have the proper hand of work. When at our courses, we had the people who didn't know how to do that, but in 3 months we could see that they were not working not for 3 hours a week, but they took some holiday, they came after the school and they drew and drew. 100, 200, 300, 400 drawings a week. They created sketches and home tasks, so the growth was substantial. We could work for the bigger project with them in 3 months. As for the storyboardists, they were working at the Roxolana full-length project, and the ideas which they brought were valuable already. So it depends on whether you can sit for a long time enough, how much time you're gonna spend for 1,000 of drawings, because you need to draw in my sphere a lot. But if you're ready, everything depends on how quickly you draw it, how quickly you reconstruct your brain, and how quickly you have your professional skills. Well, the same. Very often we have the people coming to us who want to change their jobs. They are fired, then they come, they have time, after they look at the home task, after they look at our lessons, then they can become at least juniors and change their jobs. There is no answer, like 15 days. It's more of a number of hours you spend for the studies, for the training. I've got lots of examples when the people are coming from other spheres, from the banking sphere, and they said for 2 months, from dawn till late night, and then they had certain results and they were taken to the studios, both for just drawing or 3D. 10,000 hours, yes, the classical phrase. I'm not afraid of the person who gets to know how to have 10,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the person who studies for 10,000 hours. Thank you so much, everyone, all of the participants. We will finalize. I will remind you that we had the representatives of 5 main animation schools, not only animation ones, in Ukraine, that is Pause to Play, ArtCraft, TFX Workshop, Projector and Games Academy. All of their websites can be seen in the comments to this video, so please come and look at the relevant courses. And also I'd like to mention that together with Pause to Play, we have developed a special AR sets with the cards which show the inventions of famous Ukrainian innovators, so you can come to their website and to order this set for free. Thank you so much that you've been with us today. We had a very cool conversation and we hope to have next steps and together again with someone, with maybe even state representatives who will definitely collaborate with us. Thank you again and see you in half an hour when we have the next lecture about the creative management. Thank you. Thank you that invited us. Thank you.